Environments deep underground are markedly different from surface environments. Are organisms that live in deep subsurface settings different from surface organisms? One way to approach this question is to group together life forms with similar characteristics. The tree of life is a way of illustrating life forms according to how closely related they are. Organisms near one another on the tree of life are closely related, meaning that the organisms are similar in many ways. Organisms lying far apart on the tree are substantially different. Recently, scientists have been able to group life forms together based on their genetic code, the chemical information in a cell that determines how an organism gathers energy and grows. When organisms are grouped according to similarities and differences in genetic code, we find that all life forms on Earth can be placed into one of three broad groups or domains. These three genetic domains are called eukarya, archaea, and bacteria. Algae, higher plants, animals, and fungi are all eukaryotes. Eukaryotes are distinct from the other two domains because eukaryotic cells contain a nucleus and complex organelles. Bacterial and archaeal cells are smaller and structurally simpler than eukaryotic cells. Bacteria may have been the first life form to colonize our planet. Although many diseases are caused by bacteria, most bacteria are harmless to humans and are in fact critical to our survival. Archaea are the least studied of the three domains, but that is changing. Scientists are interested in archaea because of their ability to survive in extreme environments on Earth. Many organisms live and thrive in conditions that would be dangerous or lethal to humans. These organisms are called extremophiles. Extremophiles are found in places that are too hot, too cold, too salty, too acidic, or too alkaline for most other organisms to exist. Extremophile is a relative term. To us, an extremophile's environment might seem exceedingly harsh, but to the extremophile it may be exactly what is needed to flourish. It's not always easy to tell if something is a living organism. Microscopic life in extreme environments, like the deep subsurface of Earth, can be especially difficult to recognize. In many cases, biomass is low and samples are difficult to obtain. As more information is gathered about similarities and differences among the three domains of life, scientists are better able to detect and characterize life on Earth. All active cells are surrounded by a membrane, an outer layer that physically protects the cell but allows ions and molecules to be exchanged with the surrounding environment.
The type of organisms that you see in the deep subsurface are bacterial cells. So they're not like human cells or animal cells or plant cells for that matter. They're not eukaryotes in general. And so what they are is a cell wall or cell membrane. You can imagine it as a big balloon. And inside that cell wall or cell membrane is what we call the chromosomal DNA. You can imagine the DNA is nothing but a pile of spaghetti that sits inside that balloon. And that's it. So there's no nucleus, there's no cell mitosis. When these cells reproduce, they do so by simply dividing by fission process. And so that's why they're completely different from the type of organisms that live in an oxygenated environment on the surface of our planet.
Membranes are composed largely of lipids, which are waxy or fatty molecules not easily dissolved by water. Lipid membranes allow organisms to keep their internal structures separate from their environment, while at the same time allowing nutrients to be imported and waste to be exported from the cell. Eukaryotes contain internal membranes surrounding a nucleus and various organelles, while bacteria and archaea lack internal membranes. Archaea and bacteria differ from each other in the structure and chemical composition of their outer cell membrane.
The only differences that exist in terms of the chemical constituents are the cell walls themselves. These bacteria, because they're living in such a harsh environment at very, very high temperatures, build cell walls which are very, very tough. They're made of a proteinaceous substance which gives the ability to survive extremely high temperatures. And that's something that you don't find in our cell walls at all. These are cell walls that only exist in subsurface organisms and the organisms that live around hydrothermal deep sea vents and, say, hot springs at Yellowstone National Park.
Extremophiles found deep under the Earth's surface are called deep-subsurface organisms. Scientists who study these organisms refer to them as DSSOs. Most of the DSSOs discovered so far are bacteria, but a few archaeal DSSOs are known. In some extreme environments at the surface, scientists find bacteria, archaea, and eukarya living together, but there are no known eukaryotic organisms living in the deep subsurface. Tullis Onstad describes the organisms he found in South Africa.
The relationship between the deep subsurface organisms, or the DSSOs, particularly in the case of South Africa, is that we know that the age of these waters, these deep fractured waters that exist at such high pressures and temperatures, is quite old. The age is on the order of tens of millions of years. And so what that means is that the DSSOs in that environment have been isolated from the surface of our planet for at least tens of millions of years. That means the ice ages have come and gone, and these organisms haven't seen that at all.